Would you like to know a secret?
Yeah.
We've been storing all our medicine in the downstairs toilet because it's the only place that's cool that we can think of. We don't use the toilet, do we, down here? So we've used it as a storage room. And we've got our needle bin, what's it called? Sharpie bin? Whatever it is, thing there, which you will see, I'm still struggling. You will see is full to the brim with the needles. I was expecting a wow.
Wow.
So that's meant to go to the clinic for disposal. And then we have the box here, which has had the visceralin in it, which is now all finished. You put a for that. The Gone Left boxes. I don't know why we're keeping them. It's kind of like we must keep this as some form of trophy for everything we've done. But what's quite interesting, and something I didn't know, and neither did Muriel, did you?
No.
When we started, is we knew we had to do all these injections, and we knew that the one injection would go to 2 injections a day, and we knew that we'd have egg retrieval and do all that. I did not know until my dear friend Emily, shout out to Emily, can I get it, Emily?
Emily!
Told me that you have to take pessary. So my egg collection was yesterday, and I had quite a lot of pain here. I was up in the night with pain. Muriel had to get up in the middle of the night, maybe a hot water bottle. Today is the day after, and immediately after the day after your egg collection, you have to start taking 2 pessaries a day. Which one's open? I know this one's open. And I can't believe I'm showing this, but this is meant to be a very authentic account of IVF, and these are the pessaries. So I just took my first one this morning, which was very odd and completely different to doing the injection, and I'm not enjoying it at all. But that is another part that you have to do because it prepares, I believe, your body for a pregnancy, and if we get to the transfer, it will put my body in a better shape to maintain a pregnancy. So that's the pessaries. Egg collection was day 36, so this must be day 37 because this is the day after egg collection.
Yeah.
So we got 12 eggs at egg collection, which was really good, and I think much higher than we thought. I thought we'd get kind of maybe 8. So to get above 10 was a big win, and I think we were quite buzzing about that yesterday. So the clinic, they call you on day 1, which is today, which is the day after your collection, day 3, and then for in most cases they transfer at day 5 when the embryo develops into what's called a blastocyst. I think I'm saying that wrong. A blastocyst.
Blastocyst.
So today is day 1, and they had to call us to say how many of the 12 eggs had fertilised. And what we've experienced this morning, I think any injection, even though you could see at the end I was a bit in pain with the injection, I was bloated, or the sedation, or the pains last night, that's all easy. Waiting is not easy. Waiting is shit.
Yeah.
How were we this morning?
Absolute mess.
In the end, the phone rang, I think at about 10:15 after we've been up since I think 6 o'clock this morning, just waiting. And they told us that 3 of the 12 eggs have fertilised. And I think we were a bit...
Deflated?
Yeah. And what's really difficult is everybody wants certainty. What's a good number? What's the normal number? Do they look good? Are they confident that they're going to develop? And there are no answers in IVF. You could have 20 eggs collected, 15 of them could fertilise, and 15 of them could be of poor quality and not able to be transferred. 3 technically is a good amount. I think we're just worried now we have to wait for day 3, which is the day after tomorrow, to get the next call. And I think we're just really worried that that 3 will reduce further, possibly to 2, possibly to 1.
Yeah.
And what we really hoped for was to have obviously the one good one to transfer, but we want to be prepared for that pregnancy not taking or not working, and to know that you have a couple more in the freezer to use gives you a lot more kind of certainty and hope and reassurance.
Yeah, it's no backup plan potentially.
Yeah, and I think the thought of having to do the whole cycle again and go through egg collection again, it doesn't really appeal. But there are plenty of women and couples that have done it 1, 2, 3, 4, I read yesterday 5 times, and you realise how strong these people are. So yeah, now we have to wait for day 3 to see if these 3 are still sticking around. The embryologist did say that of the 12, the others that haven't taken, the other 9, they haven't fertilised, but they would keep an eye on them just in case any of them were slow developers and picked up, which could still happen. We're not really holding out for that, but there is kind of, you know, a minimal possibility that maybe one other might take. But I think if we get the call on Monday on day 3 to say that those 3 are still doing well, that would be amazing news. But we're kind of bracing ourselves for perhaps
hearing a lower number.
Yeah. I think this has been the part where it's been difficult, and I've kind of said maybe it would be easier if we didn't tell people, because there is a lack of understanding. If you haven't been through it or you don't have an idea of it, everyone just kind of thought, oh, 12 eggs, they're all going to fertilise, you've got 12, that's amazing. And I keep saying those 12 will not all fertilise. The chances of that are so slim. You know, even if you get half of them, that's still pretty slim.
Yeah.
And people are like, what, 3 out of 12? That can't be good. Is that good? What's the normal? Did they say they're all going to take? Are you going to have all 3 transferred? What's going to happen? And it's like, and you know, people only mean well.
Yeah.
They care, they're interested.
It's so complicated.
It's
just explaining to someone, you're like, okay, because they ask you a question and they expect an answer. You can't. You always give, okay, this is all the scenario possible, and then you give so many possibilities, and I'm like, why? What?
Yeah.
And they want to know statistic, but there is none. I mean, there are statistics, but everyone is different. Everyone's gonna have a different story, a different experience, and we saw lots online.
We've read some interest. We read one last night from this woman who said that I think she'd only had 2 eggs collected, and of those 2, they weren't great quality, and one of the 2, they said it's not good enough to transfer or to freeze, so it's not really viable, which only left her with 1, and the one she was left with was a poor quality, but they did the transfer, and that poor quality embryo still took. She had the pregnancy, and now she's got a little boy, and actually the second embryo they thought they would discard picked up a day after the transfer happened, so they decided to freeze it, even though it was still a poor quality. And 2 years later, she went back to have that transferred, and she got pregnant again, and now she has a little girl. So you hear of these remarkable stories, which give you a lot of hope. But I think you tend to veer towards the pessimistic side because you don't want to build your hope up too high. Mira's always been really good on the camera, haven't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been together 7 years, and even to this day, you struggle.
I hate it.
Which is perfectly understandable. And what's really interesting is if our embryo transfer does happen next Wednesday on day 5, it's the 1st of July, and the 1st of July
is
our anniversary. It's going to be our 7-year anniversary on the 1st of July. So it would be really weird to have the transfer on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Day after egg collection, at a glance, I could look relatively normal. Would you say I look normal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very baggy dress, but I can't even. Normally I would wear like tights or leggings or something underneath this. I can't even do that. And it might not look like I'm mega bloated, but I think you can see, you might need to zoom in for this, the actual, bloat. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It is a bloat, isn't it? It is I mean, I'm not saying I'm normally completely flat, but that is quite big for me, I would say.
Yeah.
It's weird. So it just goes to show how sore it actually is. But I'm able to walk now, which is good.
Can you dance for us?
I can dance, I can sing, This is our day 3 update. Today I think has been the most difficult day of the entire cycle to date. Would you agree? I think we both aged by about 10 years. We are so tired and we are mentally drained. Come back, come back, come back. Here we go. So we were expecting a call from the clinic today to update us on the 3 fertilised eggs we were told about on day 1. And we just anticipated that they were going to call us kind of early morning, or like somewhere between 8:30, 9:30, latest maybe 10:30, 11. And it was really hard because we're both working and each hour was just kind of rumbling on. We hadn't heard anything. Got to lunchtime, didn't it? It was about 12:30. And we phoned the clinic and said, we know you're really busy, but we're just worried that we haven't heard anything. And they said, sorry, our embryologists are mega busy. It's a really crazy day. We've got so many surgeries happening today. They will call you. We promise they'll call you, but they're just having a chaotic day. So obviously we said, okay, fair enough. And we waited. We waited 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
It felt like a
4
month.
o'clock. Yeah, I feel like I've lived a year in a day. And I think it was really hard because we were kind of hopping in and out of meetings, and I'd go into a meeting and I'd be like, hello, my sincere apologies, but I'm expecting a very important phone call, and if the phone rings I have to go and I might not come back because it's important. And if it doesn't make any sense what you're saying. But fortunately I wasn't in a meeting when they called. It was just gone 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I got the call. Well, no, actually I got a call earlier, didn't I? I got a call, I think at 3 o'clock from one of the nurses saying, you're booked in for your embryo transfer on day 5. And I said, well, that's very nice, but I don't actually know if I have anything to transfer. And I said, are you able to update me? And she said, no, I'm really sorry. The embryologist will call you. I don't know the state of, your eggs or anything, but I'm just booking you in, which we thought was a bit weird because we were like, why are we being booked in for something that we don't even know is happening? But anyway, so that was booked in. And then an hour later, about 4 o'clock, the embryologist finally called, and I took a deep breath before picking up the phone. And it was, on the scale of news we were anticipating, the best news we could have hoped for. We were quite deflated by 3 eggs, fertilized eggs, and we thought that we knew, or we anticipated those numbers dropping, and we thought if we're lucky, really lucky, we'll have 2. We may have 1, and 1 still gives us a shot, but we were even contemplating, are we going to be left with nothing? But she said what we actually have is...
Ta-da! Me.
Muriel!
It's not that.
What we actually have is...
5.
5-ish. 2 more fertilised since Saturday, which was a huge surprise, and so it's put our numbers up to 5, but this is where everything gets very complicated in IVF world. The 2 that have fertilised are very late developers, and they have fertilised slowly, but they're way behind on the race, so it's very unlikely that anything will come of them, but it still means that there's tiny hope there, although we think it's probably best benched. The 3 that are still going strong, 2 they said are very good quality and look excellent. 1 is also of good quality, but has had kind of a fracture, slightly fractured.
Fracture. He broke his arm. Fragmented. Which lower the grades.
Yeah, so it's kind of, the quality will weaken because it's fragmented, and it might mean that it will end up being written off. So I think we're kind of thinking that if we make it to transfer on Wednesday, which is day 5, we will be fortunate to have 1 to transfer and hopefully 1 of good quality to freeze. If we end up with a second 1 to freeze, that will be a massive win. Who knows what will happen in the next 2 days, but hopefully we will see you on day 5 for the embryo transfer, we hope. One other thing that I haven't mentioned until now, which is actually really important, is that for the transfer on day 5, I'm being sedated again.
Ooh, she's on drug addiction.
Need another dose. The reasons why I'm being sedated are slightly complicated, but I know that the majority of women can go in for their transfer. They do not need any form of sedation or pain relief. It can often be done in a relatively short amount of time. People say it's pain-free, some say it's a little uncomfortable, but most of the time it's just, it's almost like, they say, having a cervical screening. But as we experienced a year ago, I had major problems in that my cervix decided to run away and tilt and kind of go off and do a bit of a jig somewhere, and I had to have a cervical screening, was it 4 times in the capacity of 2 months or something, and I went from doctor to nurse who could not find my cervix. I was in huge amounts of pain. They managed to find it in the end, one brave soul did, but it really hurt and traumatized me, and I got scared and thought, if I start to experience that pain at transfer, I don't want it to jeopardize the transfer. It could result in losing the embryo, it could result in it not being kind of put in correctly, and I don't think me being under that level of stress and pain is going to provide a good environment for the transfer to actually happen. And they don't have gas and air or anything like that at our clinic. We asked the clinic, can I be sedated again? It is an extra cost of about 300 quid, but we've decided to go for that. I don't want to be sedated again. I know it's risky, but it's such a short time. I think it's about 10 to 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes max of sedation. I just think it's safer, and the most important thing for us is having a successful transfer done in the best way possible and to not damage the embryo during that transfer. Hopefully we will see you on day 5 and let you know how the transfer goes. Fingers crossed. Ding!